In the middle of the Baltic Sea, a NATO warship is on high alert. The Atlantic military alliance is being tested in these icy waters.
It's a very intense situation here in the Baltic Sea region with two shores that are Russians.
Tensions have been rising in the Baltic as NATO has warned Russia's ambitions go well beyond Ukraine.
We are Russia's next target.
Если Европа вдруг захочет с нами воевать и начнет, мы готовы прямо сейчас.
Are we in a new Cold War?
But it's not very cold, it's more hot.
But now the NATO alliance is also under threat from within.
We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security, and Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you.
As 2026 began, US President Donald Trump threatened close ally and NATO partner Denmark.
vil også gøre klart, at hvis USA vælger at angribe et andet NATO-land militært, så hører alting op.
We would be, frankly, unstoppable. But I won't do that. You can say yes, and we will be very appreciative, or you can say no, and we will remember.
Everybody asks us, do we think it's over? No, we don't think it's over.
It's the most direct challenge to Danish territorial integrity and sovereignty since we were attacked by Nazi Germany in 1939.
As Denmark has found itself under attack on two fronts, we've been tracking events here for months, and the atmosphere is jittery. Mysterious cyber attacks and drone incursions have people on edge, but it's the actions of President Trump that have truly shocked this nation. It's not just a question of loyalty, it's the tearing up of the international rules-based order at a time when NATO is staring down a belligerent Russia. As tensions escalate, you can feel it in key strategic outposts like this one in the heart of the Baltic Sea. Denmark is racing to rearm, investing billions in missiles, fighter jets and military bases. And for the first time in its history, every 18-year-old female must be registered for potential combat. Have you thought about the possibility that you might have to go to war?
Yeah, I have.
It's something you're prepared to do?
Yeah, I feel prepared.
We are under pressure both from the east and from the west, and we have to handle it. This is the most uncertain times in Europe since World War II.
We're on board HMS Helsingborg on a NATO exercise to hunt Russian submarines on the waters across from Denmark. It's one of the most advanced stealth vessels operating in the world. It can track ships and submarines long before they know they're being watched. Today we're operating under a Swedish flag, but this mission is a NATO one, with officers from 5 different nations. We're fully loaded with depth charges, explosives designed to detonate underwater.
This ship is designed to be able to detect and counter any threats in all 3 dimensions: air, surface and subsurface. And today, during Playbook Merlin, we will see how the ship can detect submarines.
This crucial exercise gives NATO nations the chance to work together on board a single ship. In charge today is Captain Marko Petkovic.
So we live in, let's say, troubled times.
Can you tell us what sort of signals you look for when you're hunting for submarines?
With the sonar systems, you can detect other submarines, and by that also track, and in the event, also target submarines.
How challenging is it to find submarines in the Baltic Sea?
Oh, it's very challenging because the Baltic Sea is
see it as very shallow. It has brackish water. The sea bottom is very uneven.
Captain Paula Wallenberg is commander of Sweden's submarine fleet.
What is Russia up to in the Baltic Sea?
Yeah, maybe that's for the Russians. Russia keep track of us and we NATO keep track of Russia. So it's overall keeping situation awareness, protecting our own ships.
So Russia is gathering intelligence through its submarines in the Baltic Sea. Is that what they're mainly doing, do you think?
What Russians intend and what they do, it's nothing I can speculate. But it makes sense that that's a part of building a picture to gather information.
Are we being watched right now?
I wouldn't find it as a surprise.
The Baltic Sea is one of the most geopolitically tense waterways in the world. It acts like a highway to the Atlantic Ocean for no fewer than 9 countries, including Russia.
To get out, you have to pass by islands controlled by Denmark. In the past few years, multiple undersea cables carrying critical communications and power have been severed in the Baltic in highly suspicious circumstances. NATO has responded by launching Baltic Sentry, an operation saturating the sea with high-tech surveillance and patrols. Today's operation will see this German submarine pitted against our warship. For the next 2 hours, the submarine must try to avoid detection. It's NATO's job to find it.
Inside this room are the brains of the whole operation. This is where they find and detect enemy vessels above and below the sea. It's so secretive, I can only show you a really small part.
In the control room, a game of cat and mouse plays out. They monitor radar and listen for sonar echoes, anything that could reveal the enemy's location. After an hour of searching, the submarine is found. The real enemy won't be so easy.
Are you worried it's going to get worse?
Of course I am, and that's why I think that this exercise is one part of keeping Russia away, that we are increasing our know-how to find submarines, and hopefully it doesn't get worse if we do our job, but we'll see.
There were suspicious drones flying over airports in Denmark last night.
Confusion at 4 airports in Denmark
were part of a hybrid attack intended to spread fear.
European regional security as well as diplomacy is being put to the test yet again.
Are a hybrid attack, and officials say they expect there will be more of them.
Throughout 2025, Denmark experienced a wave of incursions and disruptions to its infrastructure. There's a strong view these hybrid attacks are being conducted by Russia, driven by Denmark's leading role in supporting and financing Ukraine's war effort.
We're standing in one of the main squares of Copenhagen, and there's a lot of Ukrainian flags around. There seems to be a lot of support and solidarity for Ukraine here.
Yeah, there has been right from the outset of the war, actually.
Jacob Karsbo is the former chief analyst of the Danish Defence Intelligence Service.
We're not a worried nation. Danes tend to be happy people, but there's also a widespread feeling that we haven't taken this seriously early enough, and we should have acted in a more timely fashion.
In the lead up to Christmas, Denmark's top industry leaders are meeting here to discuss how to prepare for war with Russia. Jacob was the headline act.
Putins mål at kontrollere Ukraine og ekspandere Rusland, det fremgår meget tydeligt af hans egen propaganda internt.
What's your main message to people here today?
My main message to people is the old REM tune. It's the end of the world as we know it, and the old times are not coming back.
And how sure are you that it is Russia behind these attacks?
So we know who's behind it. It is quite clear that it is Russia.
Denmark wasn't the only target. Last September, there was a dramatic increase in hybrid attacks. Russian drones were shot down in Polish territory, and then Russian fighter jets entered Estonian airspace.
We do not want to see a continuation of this dangerous pattern by Russia, intentional or not. But we stand ready and willing to continue to defend every inch of Allied territory.
Then drones flew over Copenhagen's main airport, forcing it to close and ground all flights. Drones were then detected at 5 more Danish airports.
These sabotage actions that have taken place, namely in Germany, Poland, Lithuania, have been very close to costing people's lives.
What is Russia trying to achieve with this hybrid war?
Point one, they want to divide. They also want to scare the population in general. And why they want to scare us is because they want us to stop supporting Ukraine.
When Russian President Vladimir Putin was quizzed about the incursions, he joked.
В Данию столько дронов посылайте. Не буду больше. Да, не надо больше не буду. Не буду больше ни во Францию, ни в Данию, ни в Копенгаген. Куда еще-то летают? На это самое. Да везде.
It's very much testing us, and they do that actually on a daily basis. The Russians have also wanted to push even more.
How close do you think we are to open conflict?
It all depends how united the Europeans are. Why? Because Trump doesn't want to say the words that the US will commit to defend every inch of NATO territory. That's what every US president has said since NATO was created after the Second World War. And that deterrence is weakened significantly.
In 2025, President Trump pressured NATO countries into doubling their defence spending.
In a very historic milestone this week, the NATO allies committed to dramatically increase their defence spending to that 5% of GDP, something that no one really thought possible. And they said, you did it, sir, you did it.
We have to make our common Europe so strong that the war against us becomes unthinkable. And we have to do it now.
Denmark increased its defence budget to almost 23 billion.
Russia will not stop until they are forced to do so.
In central Copenhagen, I met with Colonel Kenneth Strem, one of Denmark's top military men. Do you fear an attack from Russia?
Everyone would like to have no war, but that might not be the reality.
What is Denmark doing to muscle up against Russia?
That's obviously the combat power that we will introduce, whether it's within the Army, Navy, Air Force, Special Operations Commands. We will have cyber conscripts. We will have conscripts operating drones.
Denmark is buying more F-35 fighter jets, drones and ships to protect its population of 6 million people. Colonel Strem has been tasked with recruiting thousands more soldiers to expand the Danish armed forces. As of this year, for the first time, women can be called up for mandatory military service, and the length of service will be nearly tripled. Is Denmark ready for possible conflict now?
Well, Denmark, as part of the NATO collective deterrence and defense, I think NATO is ready, and by that, Denmark is also ready.
This is the Danish island of Bornholm, home to 40,000 people, and where the military presence is being significantly beefed up, from reconnaissance to combat-ready troops. Its position in the heart of the Baltic Sea makes it one of the country's most vulnerable places.
People refer to me as the most worried man on Bornholm, and I probably am, but I am for a reason.
Jacob Syrup is a local historian who was born on Bornholm.
So where are we now?
We're at the Soviet cemetery. It's the only place where you can find sort of a Soviet-type monument in the country.
Bornholm was once occupied by Russia. Soviet soldiers were stationed here for 11 months after World War II ended, before the island was handed back to Denmark.
Are you worried that history might repeat itself?
I kind of am. It doesn't really make sense that they didn't hold on to it back in 1946. Because if you control this spot, you can make it more difficult for NATO to defend.
Jacob's worried that Bornholm might one day have to go it alone.
Do you have doubts that NATO would come to Bornholm's defence?
The linchpin in NATO is USA. And if the US doesn't come, then do the Spanish or the Portuguese want to come? I mean, the problem is, who will die for Bornholm other than people on Bornholm?
What makes those on Bornholm feel vulnerable is its proximity to a strategic piece of Russian soil in the Baltic Sea.
Over there, about 350 kilometres away, is the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad. It's Russian territory separated from its motherland, wedged between Poland and Lithuania. It's one of the most militarised places in Europe, home to troops, warships and long-range missiles.
This vision released by the Russian Defence Ministry shows practice drills on Kaliningrad. Kaliningrad has an arsenal of Iskander missiles, each capable of travelling up to 500 kilometres, well in range of Bornholm. 4 days into 2026, everything changed for Denmark and NATO.
Now President Trump appears to have set his sights on another territory after the successful operation in Venezuela.
We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place.
Grønland vil ikke ejes af USA. Grønland vil ikke styres af USA. Grønland vil ikke være en del af USA.
European troops have begun arriving in Greenland after talks in Washington failed to make progress on President Trump's push to take over the territory.
Hi, Jacob. How are you?
Good.
How's Greenland? How's the weather there?
It's not too bad. It could be colder.
What's the mood there at the moment? What are people telling you in Greenland?
It's definitely tense. It's definitely tense. Resentment, deep disappointment, a sense of betrayal, really, of the values and, you know, all the things that we've signed up for. And
so Donald Trump says Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships, that he needs to take over Greenland for national security. How true is that?
Oh, that's a blatant lie. I have to call it what it is. You know, when you talk to people up here, when you talk to officials, when you talk to the Arctic Command and the people that have tabs on these things, there hasn't been a Chinese warship in these waters for plus 10 years. You know, just that's a fact. And what we do know with certainty is there's cooperation between China and Russia in the Arctic, also military cooperation. That takes place just north of the Bering Strait that separates Alaska from Siberia. Personally, Trump should be more worried than that, than trying to take over Greenland.
If diplomacy and deterrence fail, it's the young people of Denmark who'll have to face what's to come. It's 8 a.m. at the Danish Army's recruitment centre inside the Slagelse military base. Every Dane who turns 18 must now be assessed for potential military service. It's been compulsory for men to register for military service for more than a century. Now women must undergo assessment as well. Isabella and Emma are both 19 and fresh out of school.
How are you guys feeling today about being here?
Nervous.
Yes.
And excited.
Yeah. Is that something you've actually thought about, the possibility of then having to go to war?
Mm-hmm.
First up, the potential recruits undergo physical tests, including eyesight and hearing.
Ja, du er færdig herinde.
Next, a mental evaluation, testing their logic and problem-solving skills.
I think it was a little difficult. Yeah, I mean, the test also began really easy, then we got get like harder and harder.
If they pass, attendees can choose to volunteer. But if the military doesn't get enough volunteers, then it's a lottery system with numbers drawn from a drum that decides who becomes a soldier and who doesn't. Of the roughly 60,000 18-year-olds expected to come for testing this year, Denmark will take almost 5,000. That will soon rise to 7,500 in its biggest military build-up in decades. This is one of the largest military barracks for recruits in the western part of Denmark.
I find it very fun because it requires focus, quickly move between targets, and being able to just hit. Pretty cool. It's a cool skill.
24-year-old Mary Petterson is 3 months into her military service.
Knowing that I also, if needed, I can come in and help out. It's pretty cool. It's something I'm very proud of.
And to do your part for your country?
Yes. You're carrying your country with you. You are putting your life out on the line a little bit.
If your government wanted you to, though, you would be prepared to fight?
Yes. That's what I've been trained to do.
When we're out in the field and when we hold the gun, we have to keep it on us at all times. Yeah. You've come pretty close to it now.
Yeah, I know it pretty well. Yeah.
Cesar Ogo had wanted to join the military since school.
If my country requires me to do and fight for them, yeah, I would do it.
Today, Cesar and her platoon are starting a 36-hour shift. They've been tasked with guarding a compound to learn how to protect Denmark's assets that are increasingly under threat.
We see an extended risk of sabotage, hybrid warfare in Europe, and we are training our recruits to be part of that, the defense against that.
Captain Carl Brink is overseeing today's training.
And do you have sympathy for these recruits?
No sympathy at all, but I know what they're going through. I know they'll make it, and I know that they'll be better on the other side. Once those 11 months are over, we can actually send home a fully trained company of these guys ready to, if necessary, be deployed.
the highly anticipated speech to world leaders by Donald Trump.
I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force.
Donald Trump says he and the head of NATO have agreed to the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland.
Everybody asks us, do we think it's over? No, we don't think it's over. There are red lines that will not be crossed, and we will stick to our strategy.
The pressure on us is unacceptable. What would prevent America and Russia and China to split up the world in 3 big blocks if this was allowed? It's outrageous.
Jacob, hello.
Good to see you. Welcome.
So here we are again. A lot has happened since we first met. It has been quite extraordinary to watch this play out.
Yeah, it's been really extraordinary times, and it is a rupture we are seeing.
Is this a wake-up call for Europe?
It is a wake-up call, and it is also a turning point. I think the whole issue of Greenland was really so fundamental for European decision makers that even, you know, that whole thing of clinging on to the alliance with the US is now something where they say, okay, we have to stand up for the rules-based world order. We have to stand up for territorial integrity, sovereignty, and self-determination.
Let's talk about Russia. What do you think Vladimir Putin would be thinking at this point?
I'm sure Putin would be delighted with what he's seeing. It's what the Russians and what the Kremlin has been striving for many years, because NATO has always been their main enemy, and it's playing right into his whole argument.
Can NATO stand up to Russia without the US?
At this point in time, it would be really hard because the NATO command structure rests on the US. But the question the Europeans should ask themselves is, how do we stand up to Russia without the US? Because we can't rely on a partner that's unreliable. So we need to figure it out.
And Donald Trump says a deal has been done, but this isn't over.
No, there is no deal. This isn't the end at all. And the trouble is that Donald Trump is not going to get what he wants, and then we'll just have to see what he does then, because he'll have the next move, and will that be to threaten militarily again? We don't know, so we have to be prepared.
Recently, someone asked me, if you're so worried, why don't you just move? But I live here. I have my family here and my job and my house.
Back on Bornholm, Jacob Sirup's fears now extend to his children.
What are you most worried about?
Damn it. I'm worried about my family. I'm worried about my friends. It feels very unfair that we should be in the firing line.
How does your daughter feel about the prospect of maybe one day going to war?
My daughter really doesn't want to think about conscription, military service, or war, anything like that. She wants to think about, you know, K-pop bands and stuff.
I don't want to visualize myself going into war, being on the battlefield, because I think that would just freak me out more than it would like prepare me mentally. But now the whole world is such an unstable place at the moment. You have to prepare for the worst.
Isabella has decided to volunteer for the military. She'll start her service later this year.
I mean, obviously there's my close family, especially my grandparents, oh, it's a bit dangerous, are you really sure? I think the more I've talked about it and the more they just realize they can't talk me out of it, so they've just decided to support me.
I'm just ready to serve whatever cause the military we need to serve.